What is up, guys? How are you all doing? This is Project 939 here, bringing you another Professor Execute gameplay, and today we are doing some Conquest Domination on Operation 925, which, in case you didn't know and you're like, what the hell, it is the new game mode, or one of the new game modes in the Close Quarters DLC, which was released not too long ago. And this is also my first Close Quarters DLC gameplay thus far on this channel. The kind of plan was to release some as soon as the DLC came out, but I didn't get premium straight away, and by the time I would have released gameplay, there's a lot already out there. But anyway, let's not dwell on that. Let's talk about this video, and this video only, because today I'm going to be bringing you a review on the DLC itself. And so yeah, as you can tell by the time on the video, it's going to be a pretty long one, as I'm going to be covering pretty much all the points which I think are necessary to deliver a non-biased review of the DLC itself. Basically, what kind of made me want to do this review is because in case you didn't know, this came out a week early on PS3, and I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday it came out on Xbox 360 and PC. And like the day it came out, I saw people bringing out reviews on it on their platform, and I didn't really see how you could bring a balanced review after playing it for like less than a day, really. And so yeah, I've been playing this DLC. I've probably put in about a good I'd say 10 hours into this DLC alone, so I've got a pretty good idea. I know my way all the way around the maps, I've played all the maps, everything like that, and like I said, I'm going to be giving my non-biased opinion on the DLC itself. Now, I'm playing on Operation 925, which is probably my favourite of the maps, and I'll get onto why right now. The kind of reason is basically because I think I like the map itself, and I like the layout of the map. It's got different levels to it. It's probably the biggest map out of all of them, I think, and but the main reason is because of the destruction on this map. Now, I'm going to separate the destruction into categories. I'm going to call one category the destruction, and I'm going to call the other category artificial destruction, which is kind of like the destruction that you can't really use to your advantage, but it's just kind of there to look pretty. And that's the destruction that I think this DLC has a lot of, as opposed to the destruction which you can actually use to your advantage in the game, like create new pathways and things like that, which I really do think there is a lack of in this DLC, otherwise it would receive a higher score in this video, but I'll get onto that in a moment. But as I was saying, this map has probably got the most actual destruction that you can use to your advantage. I think you saw about a minute ago, I kind of peeped through this little hole that I punched in the wall. I've not punched it, but kind of shot through it. I'm not the Incredible Hulk, but like here you can see on the doors and stuff like that, there's kind of glitched out there, but you can see on the doors, you can kind of look through it and things like that, and that's the kind of destruction that you can use to your advantage. And on the other maps, there really is a lack of it. I think the other maps do have it, but it's a lot less noticeable than on this map. And still on this map, it hasn't got a huge amount of destruction. Most of it is still artificial destruction, and that really has kind of let the DLC down for me a bit. I think it would be so much better if you could like break down whole walls and create new pathways, and it really would kind of lead to the matches never really being the same, because there are a whole range of different possibilities, or there would be a whole range of different possibilities if you could like create new pathways and things like that. And that's what I kind of feel is lacking in the DLC. It's very linear and things like that, and there's not that much stuff that you can really not customize, but you can't really affect the map, if you know what I'm saying. And that's what I think it's kind of missing, as I've said many times now, and as opposed to like other maps where you can break down walls, things like that. And those kind of maps are the maps that where no map is the same. Maps like Caspian Border, CN Crossing, things like that. But yeah, on this map, and in this DLC, I mean, on all the maps, destruction really is quite basic. It's not basic, but I mean, it does look nice, and it does look very cool, and it looks realistic, but it really is, it's just there to look good, in my opinion, really, apart from, well, some of it, of course. But anyways, that's kind of the destruction point over and done with. Now we're going to talk about the maps themselves. Now, the maps and how they play, I kind of should say, is, I think, a good point of the DLC and a bad point of the DLC. I'm going to talk about the maps themselves. Now, I really do like the maps. They are in general, they are bigger than I expected they would be, and also the multiple levels, which I knew, like what I mean by that is multiple stories to the map. So you got floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, things like that. That really has added a layer of diversity to the maps that weren't present in the other maps, and it really does make the maps a lot bigger. What I thought at first would be like a one-story map has turned into 3 times as big as that because of the levels. Now, this map, for example, which, as I said before, is probably the biggest, is pretty small, I think, in comparison to the other maps in the game, obviously, but I mean, in comparison to the other close quarters maps, it's big, but one level is pretty big compared to the others, but you know, you're basically timesing it by 3 by adding 2 other layers below and above the layer I was just on, and that really does add a diversity and a tactical layer to the map as well, because it opens up a lot of flank routes and things like that. Now I'm going to talk about how the maps actually play. Now this is the bad point I mentioned. Now it's going to sound a little gimmicky, but it really does. If you're running and gunning on these maps, it really does feel like I kind of promised myself that I wouldn't compare it, but it really does feel like Call of Duty. Yeah, I put it out there. Like, but what I mean by that is you're running around, you know, running and gunning. You'll run into a few people, then you'll get killed, then you'll wait to respawn, and that's all well and good if you're doing a close quarters map, but I think it loses some of the fun factor with it being a Battlefield game, you know. It looks nice, the graphics are better, and, you know, but Call of Duty, if you're going to do a close quarters running and gunning sort of thing, with all this HD destruction going on around you, you know, it's going to take a lot of rendering, and that does lead to the graphics and the rendering and all the destruction, letting it down. It's not very smooth compared to a Call of Duty game, which is, you know, I didn't want to compare it, but I'm having to. And, you know, it does play like a Call of Duty game, you know, with the Gunmaster mode as well. It really does feel like gun game on Black Ops, I think it was. And I don't think I really didn't want the DLC to end up this way, you know. I personally don't like, because this gameplay's a little old, I personally don't like now running and gunning. I more play it a little bit more tactically, you know. I rarely sprint. I'm always aiming down sight and waiting for people to run into me. But, you know, just by looking at the other players, you know, all they do is sprinting around with SMGs and shotguns and things like that, and just running and gunning. But it's not the frag fest that everyone thought it would be, but it is a lot of running and gunning, and it does feel like Call of Duty, as I've said many times now. And I was not afraid of it, obviously, but I didn't want it to feel like that, and I have to admit it kind of does. But I've talked about the maps for too long, for this was not advertised as a map pack. This was not, and instead, this was advertised as downloadable content, so I can't just review it on the maps themselves. Instead, I'm going to also have to talk about the weapons, which is the other main part of the DLC, and I have to say, the weapons are insane. I really like them, and I am super happy with them. I haven't unlocked them all yet. They do take quite a while to unlock with the assignment system, as they did in Back to Karkand, for me at least. And you know, from these weapons, I've at least found, you know, I've found a new favourite shotgun in my beautiful Spaz 12. I've probably found my new favourite carbine in the ACWR, sorry. And MP5K, or the MPK, is really, really good gun, and a lot of the guns really are very, very good, and I'm very happy with the guns. And also, bear in mind, in the Armoured Kill DLC, it has been confirmed that there are going to be no new weapons in it. Instead, it's going to be like new vehicles and things like that, and these weapons had to be good to last you through the next DLC at least. You know, there might be new weapons in the next one, who knows. But if you're gonna not put weapons in the next one, the weapons in the one previously have got to be good, and I have to say, they are good. They do not seem overpowered. The AUG did not fit my prediction of it being like the FAMAS, where it's overpowered, then they nerf it to like below usable. It's a very balanced gun. All the weapons are balanced. I really do like them, and they feel. Obviously I don't know what realistic is for the weapon, because I haven't really fired them before, but they feel like they should, you know. They feel realistic, they feel good, and I really am happy with the weapons, as I've said before. And that's pretty much summing up the DLC in total, really. I mean, if you want to look at more of the destruction, then I'm going to leave a link in the description to a guy called Shosho. He's a YouTuber that does things for Pixel Enemy, and he does it for himself as well. And basically, he went through all the maps when they released and looked at the destruction up close. There'll be a link. He's done all 4 of the maps. I'm going to link in the first video done, which I think was this map. And yeah, you can check out the destruction for yourself. Also, finally, Gunmaster. Really don't like it. Yeah, I think it just seems gimmicky and a bit pointless, to be honest. It's fun for a bit, but it's the kind of game that you play while you're on your own, to be honest, as opposed to Conquest, which you can only really play when you're in a group. But that is the end of the video. That is the end of my first review that I've done. I hope you did enjoy it, but I think for my final score of this DLC, I'm going to score it with a 5. I'm gonna knock off 5 points for the kind of feels a little bit Call of Duty gimmicky, and the fact that the destruction plays a big part. But the weapons are great, and that's pretty much all about it that's actually great. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then do feel free to subscribe. But thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.